What's going on? Tell me what's going on. I'll tell y'all what's going on. What it do, my family? What it do, everybody? Blessed be the Most High for another blessed day. So I just have something on my heart I want to share with y'all about pertaining to what's going on overseas. Okay. Now, we know that Iran just had a leader assassinated by America and the Israelis. And so the Iranian people, the leaders over there, they're really pissed off. And rightly so. But I have a little video to show, a little clip, and I have a map to show you guys what's about that area. But Iran, they do not have the authority to close the Strait of Hormuz. They do not have the authority to close the Persian Gulf. See, 20% of the world's oil flows through that region. Many countries in the world depend on it. And the countries that buy the oil from those countries that have the oil, okay, now the countries that selling the oil, they buy food from the countries that they sell the oil to. So let me show you guys something. So Iran does not own the entire Persian Gulf. They do not own the entire Strait of Hormuz. Okay, now here's the map first. The map of that region. At the top, you got Iran, and then you got over here the Persian Gulf, and at its narrowest point, right there where that red line is, that's the Strait of Hormuz, family. And it empties out into the Arabian Sea, and on the other side of that is the Indian Ocean. Okay, so now, like I said, you got Iran up here at the top. Okay, they own part of the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. And then you also got the United Arab Emirates. They're up in there, and the country called Oman. Okay, and then India today. So a lot of countries border the Persian Gulf. A lot of countries border the Persian Gulf, and then you got little tiny Kuwait up there. It's the south of Iraq. So Kuwait also borders the Persian Gulf. And all those countries do business with other countries around the world. As they sell other countries oil, other countries sell them food. And then this little area where the Strait of Hormuz is, it looks really tiny, but actually it's 23 miles wide at its smallest, narrowest point right there. It's actually 23 miles wide in there. And then for the vessels coming in, it's a 2-mile, they have a 2-mile area where vessels come in, and then they have in the middle a 2-mile buffer zone. And then the vessels going out, they have it's like a 2.5-mile of passageway going out, and the 2.5 miles passageway of vessels coming in, and in the middle, to keep the traffic flowing without them going into each other, it's a 2-mile buffer zone. So these countries in the world over here have an agreement with the other countries who buy oil and sell the food through that region of water. They have an agreement that internationally, that they will keep this flow going, to keep everybody's economies, where they should be, with the flow of oil going through there and the flow of food coming through ships in that region. But Iran has been threatening to try to close it, and they have no authority by themselves to close the Strait of Hormuz. They don't own it by themselves, So America is right for attacking Iran. They've been sinking a lot of their vessels. And here is President Trump on a small clip saying what he intends to do to Iran if they try to interrupt the flow of the vessels coming in and out of there. But I also commend Iran, because I remember back in 1979, family, when the Iran-Contra scandal came up. I was 15 years old. And, I've always been concerned with world news. So I always watched clips of world news since I was a teenager. And because scripture says, we need to watch and be aware of things going on in the world, because there are signs in scriptures that we need to be looking for. Okay, so anyway, I remember the Iran-Contra scandal in 1979 when Jimmy Carter was president. The Iranians invaded the American embassy over there and took captive all the Americans as hostages, but they let the black people go. They let the black hostages come home, and they kept the white folks. Okay, so I commend them on that. But just because they're angry because their leader was assassinated recently, they do not have the authority to try to close the Persian Gulf nor the Strait of Hormuz, because they don't own it all. It's an international agreement that the oil and the food will continue to flow through that region. And, if they call themselves going to try to bomb or burn up any vessels, continue to try to come through there, then they have to accept what comes along with the territory. Listen to what President Trump is saying about that.
Anything, so the Strait of Hormuz is going to remain safe. We have a lot of Navy ships there. We have the best equipment in the world.
Let me start this over.
For mines. Again, most of their ships are down.
The Navy has refused requests from the shipping industry for escorts through the Strait of Hormuz since the start of the war on Iran, saying the risk of attacks is too high for now. According to lawyers, the refusal has been communicated directly to shipping and oil industry counterparts during regular Navy briefings, bluntly, consistently, and without a timeline for when the situation might change. This assessment sits in direct and visible contradiction to what the President of the United States has been telling the world. Donald Trump has said repeatedly in recent days that the United States is prepared to escort tankers through the Strait of Hormuz when necessary. When the time comes, the U.S. Navy and its partners will escort tankers through the strait if needed. I hope it's not going to be needed, but if it's needed, we'll escort them right through, he said on Monday during a press briefing.
As we continue Operation Epic Fury, we're also focused on keeping energy and oil flowing to the world, and I will not allow a terrorist regime to hold the world hostage and attempt to stop the globe's oil supply, and if Iran does anything to do that, they'll get hit at a much, much harder level. I will take out those targets that were easy and that I mentioned just before. We'll take them out so quickly, they'll never be able to recover, ever. If they want to play that game, they better not play that game. In the long run, oil supplies will be dramatically more secure without the threat of Iranian ships, drones, missiles, nuclear menace, or anything. So the Strait of Hormuz is going to remain safe. We have a lot of Navy ships there. We have the best equipment in the world, inspecting for mines. Again, most of their ships are down at the bottom of the sea, but we will hit them so hard that it will not be possible for them or anybody else helping them to ever recover that section of the world if they do anything. In recent years, the regime and its terror proxies have launched attacks on hundreds of commercial vessels. We're putting an end to all of this threat once and for all, and the result will be lower oil prices, oil and gas prices for American families. We've done that. We've done it. We brought it very low. This was just an excursion into something that had to be done.
You see what he's saying, family? He's trying, at all costs, they're going to try to keep the flow of the oil and the food, going through that region of the Strait of Hormuz, through the Persian Gulf. Because like I said, Iran don't have the authority to shut that down, And one of the reasons that countries, like Iran and other countries who already have nuclear weapons, the reason why they want nuclear weapons is because they don't ever want to be invaded. See, countries around the world that know countries have nuclear weapons, those countries will never be invaded. You know what I'm saying? So like America has nuclear weapons. Russia has the largest stockpile of nuclear weapons. I did a little research. America has the second largest stockpile of nuclear weapons. Then England has nuclear weapons. France has nuclear weapons. Pakistan has nuclear weapons. India has nuclear weapons. Israel has nuclear weapons. China has nuclear weapons. And there's one more country. It's only 9 countries in the world have nuclear weapons. And Iran, they figure like, hey, other people got nuclear weapons. Why can't they have nuclear weapons? And, these accusations that, the state of Israel, the Israelis been making against them, they was making those same accusations against Iran in the 80s when I was in high school, because the Israelis were sending planes, to destroy Iran's nuclear reactors way back in the 80s. They're just so terrified that Iran might get a nuclear weapon. Only reason why Iran want nuclear weapons is for protection of their country. Just like the countries who have nuclear weapons just want protection. Keep other countries from trying to rush in there and invade. But the Israelis don't want them to have any because they want to control the region. But anyway, you just North Korea, that's that other country I couldn't think of. North Korea also has nuclear weapons. And countries that have nuclear weapons, they don't ever get invaded. Like Russia invaded Ukraine, Ukraine don't have nuclear weapons. Now, like America just invaded Venezuela in South America, Venezuela don't have nuclear weapons. Okay, now, so that's what it is. America and the Israelis just attacked Iran and killed their leader and stuff. Iran don't have nuclear weapons yet. That's why countries want to feel secure. They want nuclear weapons just for security. That's why they want them. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, I commend Iran for releasing the black hostages when they invaded the American embassy in 1979 over there. And they let the black people come back home, And then when America elected Ronald Reagan as president in 1980, so after holding the hostages 444 days, Iran let them go. Because they knew Reagan was a different character than Jimmy Carter. So they didn't want to smoke from Ronald Reagan, so they let the hostages go. But anyhow, I'm just trying to stay abreast of this family and share, some things, what's going on internationally and stuff, because I know a lot of people just not big on that kind of stuff. But I've always had an interest in, stuff like that. U.S. history and economics, always got straight A's. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying, so all the questions in the that they would ask me. I was a senior in high school when I had U.S. history, and I had it in 11th grade and in the 12th grade too. The questions about the countries and geography and stuff. I mean, I was into that stuff when I was in elementary school. I knew it then, and I would, transferred into U.S. history. One day, my brother William was there, and my best partner Jr. You dig, and so the teacher, she had this way of, allowing people to get A's real fast. She would say something like, "Okay, name 5 countries in Europe for A+." Nobody raised their hand. Stuff like that. Name 5 countries in Central America, you get an A. Nobody raised their hand. I'm like, stuff like that. I knew when I was in the 5th grade. You know what I'm saying? Because I always studied maps and globes and stuff. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, just to keep the family abreast on, what's going on in that region around the world. But if Iran want to try to do that, close it and keep the vessels from moving the flow of oil and food through there, they have to accept what goes along with the territory to do that. And America got nuclear weapons, so Iran, please don't be stupid. But our gas prices done went way up just since last week. You know what I'm saying? So they making it difficult for a lot of people around the world. To try to close the Strait of Hormuz when they don't even have the authority to do that. That's a dangerous game they playing, And so I like when gas is cheap. You know what I'm saying? That stuff affects everybody in the world. You know what I'm saying? So anyhow, You know, y'all stay tuned for something coming for the Sabbath. That will be sunset Friday. Okay, so until next time, family, you know, one love and shalom.